Oh, welcome to the Sharp Way Show. So happy to have you with me this evening, a little bit past 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And I'm here with a very special guest, someone who has kind of decided that maybe the two-party system isn't right for her. Boy, do I understand that. So kind of for those of you who've been watching the show often, you know that is something that I adore when people decide to kind of make that shift, make that break. And I brought someone here today who is running for a very interesting office. It is the Texas Railroad Commission. Sounds like she's going to be running Amtrak or something, but no, it's not Amtrak. It is something even more important. I'll just have her tell you. She is from Texas, running right now with the Forward Party, former Republican woman herself, Sarah Stogner. How are you?
I'm good, Larry. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming today. So I have to ask, you've run for this office more than once, or once before. Is that correct?
Correct. I made it to the Republican primary runoff in 2022.
So why do you hate yourself so much you will punish yourself again?
I know. Why am I a glutton for punishment? I don't know. God put you in mysterious places and you just kind of do what feels right at the time, if that makes sense.
The point you are bringing up, I think you've picked a thing that most people who aren't in Texas, probably half people who are in Texas, don't get. That this commission that you're looking at running for is a relatively powerful, I shouldn't say powerful, maybe influential, maybe is a better word. It's a very influential, if not powerful, organization. Am I right here?
Yeah, I would say they're both. In fact, okay. OPEC was modeled off of the Railroad Commission, and contrary to their name, they have nothing to do with railroads anymore. They regulate oil and gas, intrastate pipelines, and surface mining for things like coal and lignite. And so 1/3 of the Texas economy is the oil and gas industry. And they are incredibly powerful. And there's 3 of them, and they are constitutionally created. And OPEC was modeled after them because originally in the early 1900s, when they were just getting started, they were setting limits of production, and they still do tell operators what their well spacing and things like that needs to be.
Wow. I have an immediate question on this just to bring it up. Joe asked, do they decide where tax dollars are allocated? Is that a part of the commission?
Yes. So their annual budget, don't quote me on this, I want to say it's about $100 million a year for their internal operations. Somebody please fact check me on that. It's a lot of money. I do know that they just implemented like a $20 million contract on Salesforce. And so I have some questions about that. But yeah, they have a very hefty budget. And one of the things they certainly control is the regulation of oil and gas operations. And so things like orphaned wells, problematic wells that don't get plugged. We're seeing a lot of this. You saw with the Biden Infrastructure Act, allocated a few $1 billion for unplugged wells. Well, we got the first $25 million round of funding, and now the state hasn't decided if they want the next $200 million because they don't know if they want to actually comply with the requirements that's going to require them to determine if the plugging and the tax dollars that they spend actually plug wells. Like,
wow. So they're ready to give the money away as long as they can keep the rest of the money they're hiding. They can keep the hush money.
Yeah, they're like the first 25 million didn't have those strings attached, but the next 200 or so million is going to have some serious accountability. And so in order to say we're going to take it from the feds and then dish it out, but yes, they determine where a lot of tax dollar goes.
Well, there we go. You have a fan, by the way. Boomer Shannon says, say hi to Sarah for me. So you do have some fans Boomer. Already. Yes, absolutely. So look, the thing that I think is odd about this is powerful. I assume Republicans and Democrats are fighting for this all the time, or no?
Well, in Texas, we're really a one-party state. Republicans.
I know the feeling on the opposite side here in New York.
Okay, so Texas has been Republican for 30 years in state leadership, and it's really been one party. And you've got about 800,000 people that vote in the Republican primary. So we have 800,000 people determining who state leadership is out of about 18 million eligible voters.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. Okay. So Republicans are basically the ones trying to just, is this a competitive? I know in New York where I am, I'm the opposite. I am Democrat, deep blue. We are 3-1 Democrat to Republican. And where I live personally in New York, AOC is my congressperson. I accept your condolences. So yes, with that in mind, they don't even, for an assembly, my state assembly, the Republicans haven't run a candidate in 10 years. They don't even bother running. Like, it's done. They don't bother. So the Democrats say, we have chosen this person, and then that person is our representative. That's how that works. Do you have a similar situation except Republican on your side, or is it?
We actually have the appearance of more competition, but I would say that, yes, the situation is even more dire because we have almost this facade of competition.
Got it. You are getting some people who care. John asks, does this also oversee the competing utilities on electricity? Does it also deal with that issue? Wow, we got some geeks in the
John, and these are like Twitter people that I communicate with, so it's fun to see my peeps. They actually, that is a PUC and ERCOT function, right? So Public Utility Commission, and then I can't remember what ERCOT stands for. It's electricity, making sure that it gets where it's supposed to be, and then the PUC is the money part of setting rates. And I know enough to know I don't know enough there, if that makes sense, but they are all interrelated, right? Because the natural gas portion.
You just brought this up, and while you clearly know a lot about energy, you know a lot about the system, you're much more of a person who gets the system versus someone who's just a politician. Oh, you need to shift. Do your shift.
Yeah, I just needed to move. So the light is now coming through my window, and it was starting to get into that, about to be blinding.
No worries. So, but you're actually a lawyer by trade, right?
Yes. So I'm an oil and gas lawyer, and I moved out onto a cattle ranch 2.5 years ago. Never thought about running for office, and just was literally thrust into the middle of absolute ridiculousness and utter regulatory failures.
Well, that's one of the things you bring up, right? One of the things which of course moves me immediately, is that you care about property rights, and most people in government don't. Right? That is not a thing they care about. That just gets in the way of their grift and their plans. These property rights that really bothers most people in government. But you don't think that way. You actually think landowners, I don't know, have rights and stuff. You actually think that.
Yeah, and I'll go even crazier. Even though I've been a lifelong conservative, I think the key to making sure that we help make things people like to call reparations, and there's opportunities in land ownership, and making sure that we let all Americans participate in ownership, and that there's huge opportunities, especially in the West, with making sure that we have agriculture, and that we're not just selling out to big corporations, because our food sources, if we trust big corporations, we're fools, because you just have to follow the money. And I think that there's major opportunities with private property rights and helping lots of people. So yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, I never thought a former Republican in Texas would use the word reparations on my show, but thank you. That's amazing. I love it.
Because I don't know what it looks like, right? Like, don't ask me for specifics, but I think
no. I'm glad you just. It's amazing that,
for example,
half of the people who are watching me, their heads exploded. So I'm like, awesome. That's amazing. Who cares? When I talk about reparations,
let me just give you a perfect example. Okay, right now in the Permian Basin, the largest ownerships are oil and gas companies, because they've totally raped the land, and they just buy out the rancher at 3 to 5 times the value of the property. So like, you can still buy property out here for $1,500 an acre. Now, to raise cattle out here, you need clean water. Well, if our water's gone, you can't, it's not viable to ship in water. It's too expensive. Well, we've got 19 million barrels per day, which there's 42 gallons in a barrel. So let this number sink in. 19 million barrels of water per day that come up as part of the oil and gas exploration and production process in the state of Texas. We're also facing huge water shortages. We could re-water the West with scaled recycling of produced water and extraction of elements and big picture thinking of things like this, right? And so that's what I talk about with when I say reparations. I mean, let's let indigenous people, let's let people like go back, and you can look and see through contracts, and we can help make some family lines right. And it doesn't mean that everybody immediately gets helped, but I think we could send some messages and tell big government that we're tired of, the bureaucracy has taken over, and now the duopoly is elitists in charge, and we're just all little pawns in their game.
Well, with that in mind, you have shifted away from the Republican Party, and you are now officially a Forward Party person. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I am really excited about the Forward Party, and can I tell you why?
Please. Look, I'm a big fan. I'm the one who got Andrew Yang to show up at Freedom Fest 2 years ago. No, last year. I saw when he comes to New York, I go to his events. I'm a fan. So no worries. Yeah. Yes, go ahead, please.
Here's what I think. I think that third parties, and the ones that we traditionally think about, the Green Party, the Libertarians, right? The ones that have been around for a while.
Yep.
They've been impotent.
The Libertarian Party, yes, indeed.
They've been kind of impotent for 30 to 50 years because we haven't had the money to be able to pay for the organization to get the messaging out, right? And I'm excited because although I would probably have identified as a libertarian for most of my life, I always voted Republican because I was having to pick between fiscal responsibility, and I think that social issues can be solved in other places besides the government. That's been my personal philosophy. Well, that's not working anymore because I can hope for that, and big government keeps getting bigger. No one's fiscally conservative anymore. And it's like, okay, guys, let's grab the reins and say, we can't spend more than we make. How are we going to do this? Because if we don't, I think we can look to the way of the Romans and see how our future is going to evolve with less and less paying in, and right, like it's just the problems, they devolve. So I think what I like about Forward is they're focused on none of the social issues. We say we have to fundamentally fix primaries, get open primaries, have some sort of priority voting system, ranked voting, star voting. We can get into the nuances of that. I'm learning 100%. More about that all the time. Campaign finance reform, right? In the state of Texas, an individual has an unlimited campaign donation. So someone could write me a $10 million check in Texas. They can fund, and we have a couple of billionaires, the Wilkes brothers and Tim Dunn. Fun fact, Tim Dunn's really tight with Brad Parscale's, Trump's guy, has now moved to Midland, bought a $775,000 house in Midland, Texas, and has been apparently paying people $50 a tweet to tweet about Ken Paxton because Trump sees Paxton as an opportunity to say, look, they're coming after conservative leaders. Meanwhile, the Republican Party of Texas is imploding from within. The young Republicans have officially said we're no longer affiliated with the Republican Party of Texas. A new young Republicans have come in who has Nazi-led leadership. They are self-proclaimed anti-Semites and Hitler supporters. I wish I was being hyperbolic, right? Like this is, and then we see war in Israel, right? Like this is, we can't sit around and just say, it would be nice if we could fix something. So what do? I've put that into the universe. I've said, look, guys, Texas is crazy. If you want to run as an independent, like, so RFK, for example, he just announced, right? He's going to have to garner 115,000 signatures or so of people who don't participate in either primary. They can't vote in the Republican or Democratic primary.
Wow, that's in New York.
Okay, but okay. Or if you're trying to get a third party, like I could go independent, right? People know Sarah Stogner. They come for Sarah Stogner, and then they see that I'm supporting Forward and I'm helping bring, right? Meanwhile, forward people are saying, oh, Sarah's kind of crazy and we kind of like her. And so there's been this nice synergy of people, right? But it's like, look, I'm trying to empower other Texans who are frustrated to say, we're going to boycott. We're not going to vote in the primaries of the Republicans or the Democrats. They've shown us that they're not actually interested in listening to our voices. And we're going to start our new own thing. Because then once I'm on the ballot, we forgo the primary system. We get on the ballot in November. If I get 2%, the party secures statewide ballot access for 10 years. Even better.
10 years.
10 years.
I only get 2.
Yeah, even better. Once we do that, if I get 20 to 30%, which I think I can do, I think I can actually be competitive in a statewide race, because remember, we've got a Republican incumbent who's been blessed by the establishment and probably $5 to $7 million in campaign funds this cycle. And then we're going to have a Democrat to be determined, and no Democrat's been viable. So my argument is, well, the GOP is imploding. We've got this forward party, not left, not right, forward. Let's focus on fixing the fundamental issues so that I think in the next few years, parties largely become not completely irrelevant, but somewhat irrelevant. We no longer need a party to tell us what somebody stands for so that we can vote for them. We needed that 300 years ago.
Sarah, that's a problem. You're not really getting this one big problem. How will we know who to hate?
Right? That's true.
Mean, if our party talking heads don't tell us who to hate this month, how will we know who to blame for all our problems? Right? Otherwise, we might have to take responsibility.
Fire them all. Right? That's what I say.
I'm with you. Well, when I was running and I had the forward party backing out, by the way, I'm going to pump myself a little bit. In 2022, I was the only libertarian candidate to be endorsed by the forward party. I was the only one.
There you go.
So, and one of the reasons is I have what I call the BROgram, BRO program, better ballot access, ranked choice voting, open primaries program. See, cool name and everything. But you just said something else I want to bring up. You said that people think you're kind of crazy and they like that. That is not what people think about when they think of, I don't know, Republicans from Texas. That's not a thing people think of. They don't go, oh, I bet she's crazy and doesn't care about stuff and just does stuff. And you are that way. You don't have a problem saying what you feel, even though it's against the grain. You don't have a problem talking about your relationships. You talk about your relationships openly. When most people keep them very tight, you just openly say whatever about your relationships. You don't really care about that. You'll drop F-bombs on interviews. You don't care. You'll do it. You don't mind. You don't care if you swear or not. Doesn't bother you. This is not what people think of. And you have really broken the mode. You did very risque advertising, right? That most people, Republicans from Texas, would have never done. So I feel like this is a good move. And I feel like most Republicans are probably glad you're gone. Am I wrong? Or do they want you back?
Okay. So I think it's funny because I actually had a lot of support. I have a lot of support of people that are like, I love you. I just can't publicly support you because the establishment hates you, right?
Yes.
And the reason they hate me is because they can't control me.
Yep.
And I can't be bought. And so people either love that for the right reasons or they really are scared of that for the wrong reasons. And, not really my problem. Again, I think that at the end of the day, I just need to do where I'm going to have the most impact. And it's not about me having a certain position. It's not about, maybe I get more done not winning because I'll be one of 3 commissioners, right? I've gotten to do a lot of good in the past couple of years from when I last threw my name in the hat and said, I'm not raising any money then, right? And I made it to a runoff with a little ingenuity and using clickbait by the media frenzy storming, right? And making that post go viral that I posted on Super Bowl Sunday. So it's like, look, guys, yes, I was scantily clad on top of a pump jack and it went international news and it propelled me to the runoff and people are angry. And I say, I don't know why you're angry. Ask the media why that's what sells. And why aren't we angry about corruption and cronyism? And those are the things that we should really be. Our drinking water being contaminated. I mean, a little skin. Are you kidding me? Look at the Kardashians. Donald Trump grabbed women by the pussies and that was okay, right? But heaven forbid someone that looks okay half naked gets up on a pump jack and use it instead of it being used against me. They just like mind boggling, and that I actually have the substance behind me, right? People are like, oh, she's a stripper or something. That was the initial, like, no,
you might have got more votes if you were. You might have got more votes if you were.
Yeah. Oh, but it would have peaked, right? I mean, it would have peaked,
yes.
And then it would have fizzled because I wouldn't have had any substance. But now it's
true. Good point.
It's like, hey, I've got your attention, and now that we're fully clothed, let's talk about the grid. Let's talk about nuclear energy. Let's talk about what we're going to do.
It's funny you say that. I just had a woman on my show probably a month or two ago. Janelle Mendez is her name, and she literally talks about political nudity. That's like one of her things. She's like, sex sells, and I'm going to show my body, and then I'm going to talk about the problems of America, and it's actually working, which is crazy. I'm like, that's how I should have. When I ran for governor, I should have dropped trial. Done. I'd be the governor. That's what I should have done. What was I thinking? I didn't drop trial. That was my problem. That's what I should have done. Let me, if I could, speak to my audience real quickly. Guys, if you are watching this, then do me a favor, click the like button. I know I bugged you to click the like button, but I do because I so often get so turned down by the algorithms. So every time you click that like button, it does matter. Please click it. It's important. If you haven't, why do you hate me? So you don't hate me. Click the like button. If you're watching on Twitter, please retweet this right now. I know you're saying to yourself, but Larry, this is a very good-looking group. I know we're attractive. It's true. But we'll still be here when you're done re-clicking. Quickly hit the retweet, repost it, and you can come right back. If you want to rush and support the show, you can by heading over to Larry Sharpe YouTube and super chatting. You will get right to the front. But more importantly, go see what Sarah's doing. Head over to Sarah 4RRC, and that is the number 4 if you're listening to the podcast. Sarah, SARAH, the number 4 RRC.com. Check her out. See what she's doing. If you like her, help her out. Support her if you want to. Please. She use volunteers. Right? If you live in Texas, maybe you want to write her a check, give her some money. You can do that too. She can donate, take donations right there. I know you're not going to be like Tim Dunn writing checks for $1 million, but guess what? It's unlimited. So Joe, you're a filthy rich bazillionaire. Write her a check for like $10 million or something. She'll win this damn thing. Do that. Whatever the case may be.
I'm told for $1.5 million, we can hire all of the professionals to get ballot access for the forward party. And then when I get 25%, we'll be forced to have a primary, and then the state of Texas and taxpayer dollars will pay for our primary and all of our stuff. So
look at that. Yeah. So if anyone's listening who can write a check for $1.5 million, take care of that. If not, guess what else she'll need? People who could say, I don't know, be like social media warriors for her and share things and create memes and stuff like that. Whatever. If you think there's value, please help her out. Check her out at sarah4rrc.com. But you mentioned a bunch of other things here. Joe, by the way, says he only has 1.4 million, so he won't be able to help you out. So sorry, he's only got 1.4. What are you gonna do? So yes. So there we go. So John again asked a question. Sarah, are you familiar with the forward candidate Brian? Is that pronounced Butte or Butte? I don't know. His actions of the past exposed a ton of Republican corruption in Florida.
I'm not, but I need to write this down and connect with him after because, yeah, I mean, at this point, I think they all stink. I really do. I think both sides, it's billionaire playground, and we're all being manipulated with anger and fear.
Yes, I agree completely where you're going with that, 100%. But I guess I want to go because Dave brings up something. He says, Democrats are glad RFK Jr. is gone, but both of the older parties are suggesting he's a plant from the opposition. Now, I think your point's a very valid one here, Sarah, right? I think yes and no to what Dave is saying. The Democrats don't like RFK Jr., obviously, because he's a rebel Democrat, right? Just like they didn't like Bernie when he was running. He was a rebel. The Republicans hated Trump because Trump was a rebel, right? Republicans now hate Vivek because he's a rebel, right? The establishment always hates the rebel. But in Dave's case, I don't think they're happy that RFK is running independent. I think they wish he'd just not run at all.
Mm-hmm. Or with a party, right? I think they wish he would pick the Green Party or No Labels or some other party, right? And one of the things I like about Forward is that they're not supporting a presidential candidate. They're really trying to get into states, and they need money, right? Like that's the thing. Everyone needs money. And at this point, parties are just PACs in a lot of ways. And so you just have to, you follow the money and find somebody, but at the same time, it offers us the opportunity to start something new and not say we have to try to. I thought I actually could be competitive as a Republican in the state of Texas if I got out there and worked hard enough and met enough people. And I realized that you really can't battle the money without money.
Yep.
And they are going to throw money at it. And in my case, oil and gas, millions of dollars, because they've already bought and paid for these politicians.
Yes, right. What I found is people always tell me the same thing. Larry, just run as a Democrat in New York City. It's nothing but Democrats. Run as Democrat. Well, in theory, I mean, I'm not a Democrat, but let's say I just decide to either lie or hold my nose or whatever and just run as Democrat. I could never win a primary. So I'm actually more powerful as a libertarian than I am as a Democrat. If I was a Democrat, nobody would talk to me. I'd be another guy who lost Democratic primary. No one would talk to me. No one would care, right? But now, like, I'm libertarian, like, oh, Larry, as far as libertarians go, you're amazing because they don't exist. So I'm like the only one here. So, I mean, there are many others. I'm teasing, right? But relatively, compared to Democrats, Republicans, there's like no libertarians here. So I polled at 6% in 2021. And if I'm a Republican, a Democrat, that's terrible. Like, that's terrible numbers. As a libertarian in New York State, 6%'s magic.
Yeah.
Right? So I completely agree with you. I think they would rather him be back into their party or into their world somehow, not on the outside.
And let's think about this. Ross Perot in 92, right? If Ross Perot had stayed the course and not let the death threats get to him and kind of waffle and then come back, he could have kept enough. And I think RFK with the Kennedy name is the kind of one in a million. And he's got a superstar wife and lots of money. And so that makes them a kind of a trifecta of a threat. And I like that a win could be making the president go to the Senate and having our House of Representatives and our senators decide who's going to be our next president, right?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. So let me get you hit a nerve with Gene. Gene says 100% right. We are being manipulated with fear and hate. That landed. So somebody was paying attention. I think you got something there. So let me go on then to your specific race, if I could. Yeah. In your race, you said the Republican is the incumbent. Do the Democrats usually, symbolically put up a sacrificial lamb every year, or do they not bother?
Yeah. My understanding from my Democratic friends is that if you want to throw in your hat to the Democratic race, you just call up and be like, hey, I want to run. Right. And
I'm ready to take the L for the team.
Yeah. And, last time they had Luke Warford, who he is active in politics and is a nice guy. And he came out to the ranch and toured, and I ended up endorsing him after I lost because I thought he was a better alternative than the incumbent. I thought he was actually willing to do a better job.
You ran the Republican primary and then endorsed the Democrat.
Yep. Just like Kel Seliger. He did the same thing. He ran against Dan Patrick and then said, look, our current Republicans are so bad. I know these guys on the other side, and yeah, they've got a Democrat next to their name, but they'll do a better job than the Republicans.
Wow. That is impressive in that regard. You would actually cross over and do that. That's great. Good for you. But there's my next piece I want to bring up. I think the fact that you were a lawyer, a litigator, is that correct? Mm-hmm. I think that's scary for them. And I think I'm serious, because you know as well as I do, most of these guys who are up there doing well have law degrees. Most of them are lawyers, particularly congress people, right? Senators, many of them are lawyers. So now you know how to talk their talk and stuff. And that's and you're not afraid of them. That's the other part. You're like, oh, another lawyer. So what? Many average Americans are afraid of lawyers. They think, oh, lawyers know stuff. They're smarter. They know the law. They're gonna put me in jail, right? They're scared of lawyers. But you're like one of them. So they're like extra scared of you. Am I reading too deep into this? I feel like that's an extra fear.
No, I think it's probably true. Just like Bobby Kennedy, right? He's an environmental lawyer, and he's called out. He's sued the EPA. He's sued, like, no one wants to talk about the fact that the agencies aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Like, our government has become simply almost a facade to make us feel like we have some choice and say.
Yes.
But it's all, smoke and mirrors.
Absolutely. And that part drives me crazy, because I think there's something else, that to be a litigator, there is a tenacity that one has to have to be successful, right? I've consulted with a lot of attorneys in the past. And sometimes the cases, people don't realize that. People think a case is like a TV show. So like, the case is done in an hour. I can't believe it. It's all solved, right? Like, that's how people think of cases, when, as you know, cases very often take years.
Right.
Sometimes decades, obviously not all of them, but sometimes even decades, but they often take years. So the tenacity to have to stand by something and go, no, I'm not done. Oh, another? Okay, no, we'll do more paperwork. Okay, we got more paperwork. Okay, and we'll keep doing it, and we'll dig deeper, and we'll keep digging. That type of tenacity, I think, most people don't have, just as individuals. So when you run for office, and I'm sure you know this, the thing that most parties, one of our party's biggest issues, this is for any smaller party, is that running is very often punishment. It's very often, you know it, you've done it. It's very often hard. Most people run once, get their ass kicked, and never run again. That's most. But it's the people who actually fall down and then get back up. That's the scariest. How do I know that? In 2022, I was the only candidate the Republican Party sued off the ballot. Nobody else.
Right?
Because they were like, this guy doesn't stop. We got to put him down. And now they're still mad I'm still talking. Isn't this guy, hasn't he moved out of New York yet? Somebody sent him to like Tennessee or something. Get him out of here. So yes.
We would love you in Texas, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe one day I'll come down. Or maybe I'll hook up with Tim Dunn and get some big $1 million cash. I'll become his bestie.
Go to influenceable.com and you can get paid $50 for every tweet. You just have to put a link. Russell Gold with Texas Monthly actually had an excellent article about the problem, but yes.
There we go. Yes, absolutely. Well, Joe steps up. He goes, 3-time ass kicked here. Yes, Joe keeps going too, brother. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. Yes, some of us got to keep going. 100%. But I mean, this tenacity piece, and I mean this seriously, right? You did something which, again, is strange. You did guerrilla marketing. It worked. It got you forward, but you didn't win, but you still kept going, knowing that's going to be, that L is on your list. I have L's on my list too, so I'm with you, but we got L's on our record.
I still have almost 60,000 TikTok followers. Maybe we'll get it over 60,000. I can't seem to hit that hump.
There we go. I know, exactly right. So let me move to the next step then. Tenacity, I say it. You're talking about getting 20, 30%. Which would be amazing.
Yeah.
Let's assume you win this thing. Just assume that it explodes. And of course, you're now on my show, which is basically Joe Rogan. I mean, basically, right? I mean, almost. I mean, Joe's almost as big as me. So it's basically Joe Rogan you're on now. So let's say all of a sudden now you explode and you do great and you win this thing. Is this something you could do for several years? Make the impact you want to make and feel like, you know what, I've done it, I'm good. You do your X number of years, whatever that time period is, you head back off to your ranch and you're good, or no?
Yeah, I mean, what I say never say never. What I would love to do is inspire other normal people to get involved in politics.
I like that.
And be like, yeah, you've been married a couple times. Okay, you've got a DUI from college. Like the things that people tell me they're worried about.
Yes, like, all the time.
Do you know what these people are like in politics? No one cares about who you're sleeping with anymore, because just like we saw with Ken Paxton, everyone has fake Uber accounts to go meet their mistresses, to get their campaign donations, to glass houses and rocks. And in Texas, specifically with where we value independence and stuff, it's like, look, guys, I'm hopeful that I can inspire people to get involved, change the way we govern. And then, no, I don't need to be actually in the room to be effective, like in the chair, I don't think.
So what happens if you don't win? What do you think is your future? Is this, you know what, I'm trying again, or you think it's something else, or are you going to head off to the ranch and chill out?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll keep digging up old unplugged wells. I'll, keep harassing oil and gas companies to do it the right way. Keep calling out the hypocrisy of policy and, on things that I know about, and continuing to educate people, and hoping that I can leave a legacy, and that my daughter and grandkids, have a Texas to live in where they have clean water to drink. Like, at this point, we're talking third world country stuff, right? I mean, our education's 26th in the nation. There's a huge fight right now about school vouchers. Like, we need to rethink the way we do education. We need to rethink the way we do healthcare. I think we need to get rid of the cap on the number of House of Representatives and get back to it being the Wild West, and every 100,000 constituents has somebody in the House. And let's get rid of the agency bureaucrats and have like 10% actually go to Washington, and the rest of the 90% are actual people with real life experience that actually run for a couple of years in an active public service, help, like right now.
Well, now you're talking crazy. Now you're talking crazy.
Total, right? And I don't know the answers, but these are different ideas that people that have been studying it for a long time and are passionate about. Like, I just learned about this whole movement of people to uncap the number of representatives in the House of Representatives. And I'm like, I think that that's brilliant. I think that
you really, let me give you a little bit of advice.
Yeah.
Hang around more libertarians. You will hear many more things like that. This is like, every libertarian watching is like, we knew this years ago. We're all into it. This is kind of like our thing. So yes, hang around with some more of us. Okay. You'll get there real quick.
I mean, cannabis, that's my next love mission, is we need to decriminalize. I'm really terrified about the rescheduling. I think that's just going to big pharma. So yeah, I've got a lot of other passion projects kind of eventually, and I don't know what they'll look like. Again, I just kind of follow where my heart tells me and the opportunity.
So do you think you'll head back to law, right? I mean, right? Are you actively practicing law now or no?
I am.
Okay, you are. Is it with your own firm as a consultant? Is it with, or are you of counsel, some other firms?
I have my own firm.
You do?
And okay. Yep. And I'm general counsel of the ranch that I manage. So I manage a ranch, and I live out here on the ranch. And that's a lot of what I do. But I have other clients. I have industry clients still. I still represent oil and gas folks. So yeah.
Got it. So this is still your world either way. Got it.
Yeah, they can't get rid of me, right? And that's the thing. I'm an oil and gas lawyer. So it's like, once you know something, you have an obligation to speak out. And so I now know something, and I have to continue to educate people, because we need oil and gas, but we have to do it the right way. And we need common sense leadership, not like carbon capture that's now going to be creating carbonic acid and creating other issues and not helping our environment, which is the whole grift that is the premise they've sold it on.
So let me see a couple of questions from the chat, if you don't mind.
No, please. And sorry, I've got this lingering cough.
No worries. Joe asks, what does she think of open carry on trains? That's a very specific question. Okay.
Well, I'm generally in favor of open carry rights. And on trains, I guess, interesting. I don't know. We don't allow it on airplanes. I don't necessarily feel safer on airplanes because of that, right? I don't know what the solution is. But good news is, Railroad Commissioner has nothing to do with that, so I won't have any say on it anyways.
There we go. Good question. John says, Sarah, should residents have the right to file suit against these companies that leave bad unplugged wells behind?
They should, and they do, and I am actively suing operators on that very issue right now.
There we go. Absolutely. So I guess let me talk one more time to my audience. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, then do me a favor. Retweet this if you're watching on Twitter. Click the like button if you like it. And if you don't like it, click it anyway you're watching. I don't know, are you playing Minecraft while you watch? I don't care. Play Minecraft. Stop building something and click the like button. It's not going to kill you. Do it. You can, if you want to support the show, if you want to, of course, by super chatting your comment to the front if you want to, or no matter what, Sarah is showing us some love by coming today. Show her some love too. Head over to sarah4rrc.com. If you're listening to the podcast, that's SARAH, the number 4, rrc.com. See what she's doing. She's right there. She's got pictures of her like with a hard hat on and stuff. So it's kind of cool. It's just energy. So like hard cat, right? So yeah, so it's good. You can check that out. It'd be great. If you like what she's doing, help her out. If not, it's okay. Still check out her site anyway. You can always help her out either financial donation, or you can help her and support her by volunteering for the campaign either way. So I talked about your race a bit and what you might do. Yours, I'm assuming it's this November, correct?
It's no, we've got a year.
Oh, so we have another year.
Yes.
We got a ton of time.
We got a ton of time. So this is the craziness, right? If I was going to run as a Republican or a Democrat, I would have to pay $3,500, and I would have to do it between November and December of 2023 to be on the November 2024 ballot. Okay. Then in March, we're going to have the primaries of the Republican and the Democratic primaries. Then starting March 13th, if we want to get another a party on the ballot, we have 75 days to collect over 80,000 signatures for people who don't participate in the primaries.
Wow.
So that's what we're up against.
Okay. So she's going to need more help than just like retweeting. She will also need you to go to Texas and help her out there too.
Right.
Okay.
Or you know, if the Libertarians are already on the ballot, if they woo me away, if we can't get the Forward Party, right? Like there's lots of opportunities. We're just going to have to.
Oh, you should have not said that Libertarians can get you, Sarah. Now you messed up. now you're messing up. That was okay. Guys, get her. All right. I have just given the order. They will be coming soon. You'll be getting a knock on your door pretty soon.
Okay.
It'll be Libertarians. So there we go. You'll be getting a knock on your door. Absolutely. So, Sarah, is there anything that I should bring up that I might have missed? I mean, you wanted to chat about that I should have said.
No, I think it's just, I encourage people to go look at the corruption in Texas, and the family, the woman I'm running against, her dad has been the longest serving member in the Texas State House of Representatives. He's been there over 55 years. And wow. In 2022, her and her dad made over $10 million in overriding royalty interests from oil and gas companies. She's regulating oil and gas companies. He owns an interest in the wells that are currently blowing out on the ranch where I live, right? Like wow. This is, and if I didn't have the landowner that I have that has the financial resources to spend millions of dollars on experts and fight these battles, average Texans don't have those resources. And so it is time that everyday Texans stand up and say, we've always been proud of our independence. Texans can take care of Texas. But it's time to step up and take back Texas, because the rhetoric that you currently hear specifically from Republican leadership is heavily funded by a lot of non-Texans that are taking advantage of what we have, our natural resources and our opportunities here.
There we go. Everybody, remember, you can find Sarah at sarah4rrc.com. Guys, thank you so much for watching this evening. I will be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow I have the Sharp Crew at noon. We're talking about foreign policy. And then I'll be on again maybe 7 or something tomorrow or Thursday. And I'll probably do a fundraiser. You guys got to give me some money soon. So one of those things will be happening soon. I will see you all